41 years of marriage taught me exactly one thing about betrayal. It never knocks. It walks in wearing a family member's face. My name is Charles Gleberg. I'm 68 years old. I built Gleberg Boatworks from a single rented slip and a coffee can full of screws into 4 marinas along Grand Traverse Bay. My wife Eleanor built the home that made all of it worth having. 9 months ago, I found her on our kitchen floor. A brain aneurysm. No warning. Gone before Sunday's coffee finished brewing. The one thing of hers I could still reach out and touch sat in our boathouse, a 1958 Chris Craft Capri she'd spent 25 years restoring by hand. She called it the Grace. I'd sit in it most mornings with my coffee, just to breathe in the smell of varnish and something underneath it that still felt like her. One Monday morning, I opened the boathouse door, and the boat was gone. No broken locks, no forced entry. Only 3 people had a key. Me, our caretaker, and my son Tyler. I called him. He was at the airport, boarding a flight to Europe with his wife Megan. He'd sold the Grace to a broker named Walter Higgins the day before. "It's not doing anybody any good rotting in a boathouse," he told me. "Technically it's going to be mine eventually anyway." I did the math before I even hung up. A boat like that doesn't sell for $40,000. It sells for $300,000, maybe more. Tyler wasn't careless with money, not ever. Whatever this trip was, it wasn't the reason. It was the cover story. Walter Higgins called me an hour later. He hadn't released the full payment, standard practice on anything over $50,000, and he'd found something hidden behind the dashboard. A fireproof lockbox. Inside, a flash drive, a bundle of old papers, and a notebook in my dead wife's handwriting. The first line read, "If anyone but me ever finds this, something has already gone wrong, and Charles needs to know everything." I sat in my truck in that parking lot for an hour reading it. It wasn't a diary. It was a ledger, dates, dollar figures, initials instead of names, like she hadn't been sure yet who she could trust. Payments to a vendor account that didn't exist. Invoices that spiked every quarter, then quietly corrected before the annual audit. In the margins, her own notes in blue ink. "Doesn't add up," asked SR. "Got a story about a glitch, not buying it." SR was Scott Ramsey, my VP of operations for 12 years, a man I'd hired myself, stood up at his wedding, trusted with the keys to every marina I owned. The last entry was dated 11 days before she died. Found the wire transfers. Cayman accounts. This isn't Scott acting alone. There's a second signature, and it isn't his. Talk to Charles Sunday. Don't let this die with me. She'd found it, days before she died. And she never got the chance to tell me. I called my attorney, Cynthia Blackburn, that night. She told me not to confront anyone yet. Get the flash drive to a forensic accountant first, before anyone had a chance to shred a file. "Angry gets you sued," she said. "Proof gets you justice." Her accountant, Rebecca Chen, laid it out in under 3 hours. For over 3 years, more than $2 million had been siphoned out of our accounts through a shell company called North Shore Marine Supply, routed to accounts in the Cayman Islands. Scott Ramsey's authorization was on nearly every invoice, but the wire transfers requiring a second executive signature, those bore my son's name. And the account that received the largest transfers wasn't tied to Scott at all. It was registered 18 months earlier to a holding company filed by Megan. Not the icing on the scheme. The one who baked it. I asked Tyler and Megan to come to the house the evening they landed, jet-lagged and tan, saying only that I wanted to talk about the boat. Cynthia sat in the next room with a recorder running. "I want to talk about North Shore Marine Supply," I said. "Never heard of it," Tyler answered. "Too fast. Your signature is on 11 wire authorizations, $2.1 million, give or take. Your mother found this before she died, Tyler. She wrote it all down. She was going to tell me the same Sunday morning I found her on the kitchen floor." Megan's face went the color of old paper. "The second account," I continued, "the one that received the largest transfers, that's registered to a holding company you filed, Megan, 18 months ago." Nobody spoke. "Your mother spent 25 years restoring a boat with her bare hands," I said, And you forged a power of attorney to sell it in an afternoon so you could buy plane tickets with money you'd already been stealing for 3 years. Get out of my house. My attorney will be in touch. When I confronted Scott Ramsey in his office, I expected denial. Instead, I got something closer to relief. Tyler had come to him 4 years earlier, resentful about his salary, and proposed the shell vendor himself. "Once you're in, Charles," Scott said, "there's no clean way out." "My wife found it," I told him, 11 days before she died. His face went white. "I didn't know that, I swear to you." Then, quietly, Tyler started moving faster, with the transfers about 3 weeks before she passed. I always figured he was just getting greedier. Now I'm wondering if he knew she was getting close. I never found an answer to that question I could live with. The case went to the U.S. Attorney's Office within the week. Wire fraud crossing international lines doesn't stay local for long. Scott took a plea deal. 3 years, full cooperation. Tyler and Megan fought it for 6 days of trial. Rebecca Chen walked the jury through 3 years of transfers. Eleanor's notebook was entered as evidence, her handwriting projected onto a screen in a courtroom she never lived to see. The jury convicted them both on wire fraud, conspiracy, money laundering, and forgery. Tyler got 7 years. Megan got 9. The judge cited the offshore company she'd personally structured as evidence of a calculated hand, even though she'd joined the scheme later than her husband. Watching my son stand in a courtroom in the suit I'd bought him for his college graduation is not a moment I can fully describe. Some silences just sit in your chest and refuse to leave. We recovered just over $1.9 million of the stolen funds. I didn't want it folded quietly back into the company like nothing happened. Eleanor deserved better, so we used it to establish the Eleanor Gleeberg Foundation for Aneurysm Research, funding early detection screening at 3 regional hospitals. Her name is on hospital equipment now instead of a shell company's paperwork. I brought in outside auditors to review every account across all 4 marinas. I promoted from the docks, instead of hiring outside, mechanics and dock hands who'd spent 20 years actually building the boats instead of managing spreadsheets about them. The business runs leaner now. Honestly, it runs better. Tyler writes to me sometimes from the facility. I've read every letter. I haven't answered one yet, and I've made an uneasy peace with not knowing if I ever will. About a month after the trial, I drove to Walter Higgins's shop and bought back the Grace. He'd refused 3 offers from collectors the whole time. "Some boats aren't really for sale," he told me, "no matter what the paperwork says." I towed her home myself, back to the cradle where she'd sat for 25 years. I go out there most evenings now with a cup of coffee, and I run my hand along the mahogany Eleanor sanded smooth with her own 2 hands. She found the truth before any of the rest of us did. She just never got the chance to say it out loud. Betrayal doesn't always come loudly. Sometimes it comes quietly, over 3 patient years, from the people who had every reason to protect you instead. And sometimes the one who catches it isn't who you'd expect. It's the quiet one at the workbench with a notebook, who never stopped paying attention. Have you ever discovered a betrayal hiding inside something that looked, on the surface, like an ordinary family disagreement? Tell me in the comments.